everybody. It's Soppy and Marco, Dish on the Movies, the only movie review channel where we review movies in terms of food. But right now, we're trying to finish up Better Call Saul Season 5, and we've had a little setbacks here and there with having to do extra chores in preparation for somebody's retirement. Not mine, and
Mine?
no, not even yours. And so that's why we've been so bad about posting videos. But let's get on with episode 9. It's called Bad Choice Road. And the characters most in the episode are Mike, Lalo, Nacho, Gus, Kim, and Jimmy. Oh, and is Howard in this one? No. Okay. Well, in this episode, Jimmy and Mike have had to spend the night in the desert. Now, the bad guy, remember there was one left out of the group that Mike killed with his sharpshooting weapon. And he managed to get all of them except for one. And he came back once, and they were already out in the desert walking towards Albuquerque to get away from, because of course they knew he was going to come back. The possibility was high. And then he came back another time the next day. It might have been one time too many. City boy Jimmy is really pushed to the max in this episode, carrying those heavy bags, which is really hard on his shoulders. And the worst of it is he had to drink his own urine, which made quite an impression on him. But what about his fair hair and fair skin? Well, they're no match for the desert either.
Yeah.
At least Mike wore a hat and carried a little more water than Jimmy. And that sniper's rifle he carried, which effectively he used to pick off all the bad guys. Well, during the night, or when the night began, Mike also had brought one of those silver blankets.
Wait a second, are you on Bagman?
Yeah.
This is Bad Choice Road.
Oh, wait a minute. No.
You're like going through Bagman. Why are you talking about Mike having a blanket? That's Bagman. Okay, everybody, we're just gonna have to ditch our usual 10 minute introduction. This episode basically, Jimmy and Mike get back to civilization, and then Jimmy tries recovering, and he tries to become a lawyer again, and that sounds wrong. He attempts to get back to doing cases again, and also recovering from the whole desert thing, and then he also bails Lalo out of jail successfully, and that's the episode. And sorry that Safi did something weird once again. You might say that she took a bad choice road when writing the review.
Okay, well, also, this is the episode where Kim and Lalo have a little tête-à-tête,
That's
right?
a spoiler, though. I mean, why are you talking about that right now?
I'm not going to say any details.
You're taking a lot of bad choice roads, Safi.
But the thing is, in this episode, Kim will save Jimmy's bacon.
Really?
But hope you guys either have watched it already,
Yeah,
or
I hope you did.
Please check out this scene, because for me, this was the best scene in the entire show.
Yeah,
the entire episode.
Just watch like the opening 15 minutes, and then watch this last scene, and then that's all you need to watch.
Actually, that's really about true, and I think it's almost like we talk about when we review movies, how we use food to describe our view of it instead of the usual thing like, oh, I give it 5 popcorns or whatever. We have, because this is a TV episode, we have been giving them letter grades, but I just want to say that this scene in the episode was like a good gravy on a decent scoop of mashed potatoes. The tension that rose between Lalo and Jimmy and Kim, and Jimmy still has PTSD. That just doesn't go away in 2 seconds, and he's kind of just a walking ball of shock. And this tension rises to code red. Especially, I guess this is Lalo's thing. He carries a pistol in his front pocket or in his pants.
Sophie?
So anyway.
Sophie?
Go ahead, Marco.
Why are you talking about spoilers?
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
He carries his pistol.
You're talking
with
about
him
the
all
last
the time.
scene of the episode. Why are you doing that?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, okay. Wow, this is a weird review because Sophie's just
This was what happens when you write something and then there's like a week or so.
Probably needs a new prescription of something that can make her get some sort of help. Okay, finally, talk about this episode without spoiling it for people. Okay, I'm gonna have to say that this is a spoiler review because you just ruined it. You ruined the whole review.
I really?
In terms of people, I mean, I wouldn't want anyone who didn't watch this episode to watch this review unless they've seen it, because you spoiled it all. So, anyways, back to the real review. This episode was pretty good. It was very different than other episodes. It wasn't the usual Better Call Saul. It sort of felt like it was a break. Like you have Better Call Saul, and then you have a break time. It felt like all the characters needed to rest and needed to get over what happened in last episode, because last episode was so impactful and so climactic. And this episode, Jimmy, he couldn't do anything. Like he was standing there and he had no energy whatsoever. And I felt like that was really cool to see that, where you have this episode where your main character is like a walking corpse. Like he's just dead. And he has nothing. And then Kim, she's she's already evil because of season 4, but now I guess she's officially evil. I don't know, whatever. I don't even care about her anymore because they ruined her character in season 4, and now her character decides to quit and from her job at the evil law firm. Like, yay! Now that whole plot line is useless. But I thought about it. It kind of parallels how Jimmy took that corporate job at Davis and Maine, and how he didn't fit there. And so to me it kind of parallels where you have Jimmy and Kim, and they both don't fit in this corporate stuck-up law world. And so I kind of like that idea if you look at it from a very outside perspective, but the way that they execute it with I felt nothing when she quit her job. Did you feel anything, Sophie?
No, not really. It was a little bit shocking, but
I was like,
I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah, that's what it was for me, really.
That whole plot in season 4.
Why.
It's because that whole plot was pointless. It was because that whole plot wasn't done well. That plot in season 4 where she takes the job so that she can make Jimmy feel bad, basically, is what happens. And it just, ugh. But other than that little thing, what about Lala? Well, I don't want to get to that yet because that's a spoiler. Oops, sorry everyone. I don't have the virus. That was just a little water that just went down the wrong way. And so anyway, what else was there? There was Mike, and the thing with Mike is that he gives a okay speech this episode. Oops. He God dang. This wasn't planned. But Mike, this episode, he was pretty good for what he had to do. But overall, this episode really felt like it was a build up to something more than anything. It felt like this is the prologue to the meat that we're gonna get in the finale.
Right.
And I don't want to say anything about the finale right now, because I might start getting upset.
Well, and I just want to also point out that Jimmy's PTSD, which is what I'm calling it, and he was in a shootout. And I don't think he's ever been in a shootout. And he was fighting for his life, although he wasn't doing much fighting, but he could have been easily killed. If Mike had not been there with his sharpshooter gun, he would be dead. And so he's in shock, and then all those people who sneaked up on him, or surround him, or whatever you want to call them, they are all dead, with blood and bullet holes, and there's bullet holes in his car, and then he had to go walk across the desert with hardly any water, drinking his own urine. It's cold at night, and he's just in total shock. And he's sunburned. His shoulders have to be extremely sore from having to carry that money. And so he did a really good job as an actor expressing PTSD.
Oh yeah, PTSD. You mean like?
Which is what I call it. But I think it was. He was in
like
shock.
You mean like the 10 minutes of PTSD that Jesse has in El
No,
Camino?
and I was going to say something about that. I don't know how many people here watched El Camino, which is basically shows a resolution, and I'll put that in quotes because it was only the beginning of a resolution, I think, of what happens to Jesse. It's that movie that came out sometime last year on Netflix.
I think it came out in October.
Okay, well, so anyway, he had PTSD too, of course, because he was tortured, deprived of food, threatened. He was kept in a pit like an animal, chained up. I mean, really, that for anybody. He had PTSD, yeah, like for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And you ask any war veteran who comes out, they don't have PTSD for 2 seconds. It takes a while, and it's probably never really totally resolved. They just learn to live with it and not let it bother them so much. But they still, that isn't something that just goes away overnight. And that's what they did in that El Camino. But in this show, they showed Jimmy in shock, and they kept him in shock because, of course, for him, he's not into gunfights, carrying a weapon. He didn't even have a weapon with him. I mean, you have all these people, right and left, all ages, getting guns anytime they want, anywhere they want. And hey, did you see him with a gun? Do you see him with a gun with any weapon? Not even a knife. He didn't even have enough water. And so I thought that was another thing I liked about the episode was his expression.
Even through to the end, he wasn't over.
No, he wasn't.
What happened? So that was really cool.
I thought that was good because to me that was more realistic. He's a city slicker. He is not somebody who camps or does anything.
He did camp though. We discussed that before. Remember?
Yeah, but it's not like
he did camp.
He couldn't even. I mean. It was bizarre. They didn't have any extra water. They didn't have any extra food. Even if they weren't planning on staying in the desert, which of course they weren't. I would have still, because I mean, just the fact that he drove that crappy car, that even no matter what happened, even if nobody had bothered him, that car could have broken down 2 seconds. It's a horrible car in horrible shape. We don't even know how if he kept it up. Like, did he get the oil changed? Blah blah blah.
I don't think so.
And so, when you do that to a car, it'll break down and it will be destroyed.
Like, you think about normal people, like what they would take on something like this. Like, they would take a lot. That whole back seat would probably be full of stuff. Like, if you think about, remember that Kipper episode where Kipper and Tiger literally just go on a hike and they have like 1,000 sandwiches in their jacket pockets.
Oh yeah.
And they have all that different stuff to be prepared. And then you look at what Jimmy brought. he was what would you call it? One of those.
It's very green.
One of those metaphors,
green
where there's a sheep in the lion's den or something.
Oh.
That's what it was like. But in this episode, overall, it was really kind of anticlimactic, I guess you could say. Even though there's a scene at the end where it's probably a highlight scene of the whole season.
Yeah, I would say so.
But the episode as a whole, the episode as a whole, though, it's just, it doesn't hold up as much as it should.
It's just like business as usual.
Yeah.
It's like anybody in the world having a regular day, which right now that's not happening, but anyway, it's just nothing. It's just like, okay.
It feels mostly like, well, we didn't need to see all that. We didn't need to have this as an episode, really. Like, mostly, it felt like, And so overall, I give this episode a B. I've been very mixed about it, because on one hand, I kind of disliked it, and then on the other hand, I loved some stuff in it, like having Jimmy be traumatized the whole episode. So what do you give it, Safi?
Well, because of these two things, this scene, which I alluded to, and Jimmy's PTSD, I gave it an A-. And the reason why is because I keep thinking about it. And I kept thinking about it and how uncomfortable I felt. And the scene itself, what happened, how uncomfortable it made me feel. And I also feel like for Jimmy, it appears that it's no fun being an amigo del cartel, even if it brought him a boatload of money.
God, Sophie.
Okay, but that's really, so I gave an A-, basically. And I would have, and like Marco said, frankly, I mean, those two things, if they make an impression on you, that's a good thing.
It's negative, though.
But for the rest of the episode, when it's just like business as usual, that's not a good thing, because it's near the end of the season.
It's lots of negativity.
It's next to the end. So, come on, really?
Well, it shows bad writing. Bad story structure, because you thought, like, you look at the rest of the season. If you were watching episode 2, would you be able to predict anything that happens in this episode? No.
No,
like,
not
nothing.
At all.
I would have said something, it would have something to do with Mesa Verde. Oh, wait, yeah, that's done. That's just over with now. Unfortunately, like, Kim's biggest plot ever since season 2 is just automatically gone now as well. And so, like, stuff like that, like, it really exposes the bad writing in season 4. Because a lot of this episode hinges on the fact that Kim had that corporate career at that evil company. And then also a lot of the episode hinges on Lalo. And Lalo, he literally has had nothing to him until
not
these
really.
these past few episodes. And so it's almost like his character, oh wow, look, his character's finally become a character. Finally, after all this time. And so overall, I'm very mixed about it. But yeah, whatever, I enjoyed it. It's fine. We'll see what happens though, because my rating would probably be an A if the finale was good. And so we'll have to see what the finale is like, Safi.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. I'm visibly winking. That's why I'm doing that, because it sounded kind of weird when I was speaking. I was like, see you at the finale, Safi. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
It's time to take a bad choice road and watch that shitty finale. Oh, wait, no, I didn't say that. I didn't say the finale was shitty yet.